All right, you're listening to 91.5 WUML Lowell Blues Deluxe, and it's my distinct and honored pleasure to have the great Deborah Bonham on with me today. Hello, Deborah.
Hey, John, thank you for having me on your show.
You're
Very
welcome.
exciting.
Very exciting to have you on the show. I've been, all these questions I have. You have quite a long history in the music business, and a lot of people over here really don't know who you are, where in Europe they know you very well.
Well, I guess it's because I've been here, playing and never quite got with the record label, or except for the one album. It's been a struggle to get over to America, but that seems to be changing. And Quarter Valley Records, California based, so things are starting to open up. And America's where we really want to be because you guys really get this music, you know. So it's we can't wait to get over there. So yeah.
So tell me, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in a place called Redditch in Worcestershire, which is the centre of the UK. It's called the Midlands. And I grew up there with my two brothers, my two elder brothers, John and Michael, and my mum and dad, Joan and John Henry Sr. So yeah, that's where I grew up. I went to school there. I grew up listening, my mum and dad playing incredible music, Benny Goodman and Glenn Miller and Mahalia Jackson and Billie Holiday and you name it. So it was a good start. We always had great music in our house.
As a kid, what were you listening to on the radio at the time when you were like 10, 12, 14, that period of time?
Well, you see, I don't think I was much like any other kids of my age, back then, because I had a famous brother. I mean, he was an incredible musician and the most mind-bogglingly brilliant drummer. And of course, he joined Led Zeppelin when I was 6. So I was listening to Led Zeppelin and Hendrix and Traffic and Bad Company and Free and James Brown and Aretha
All
Franklin,
all
the
that stuff,
O'Jays,
right?
the Spinners. I just had an amazing introduction to music because both my brothers, John was 14 years older than me and Michael 12, and they both loved music. So they were really into Motown, into blues, into rock, um, soul, everything, funk. So it was an incredible eclectic mix of music I was listening to in those early years.
So when did you decide you wanted to do it yourself as a professional
Well,
musician?
I guess I mean I'd always sung. I loved singing from when I was very little. I knew I could hold a note or a tune. I'd always sang, and but at 6, when your brother joins Led Zeppelin and they become one of, well, if not at the time, the biggest band in the world. John wasn't very keen on me, his kid sister going into that business because I guess, and I understand it now, I totally get it because he saw an unsavory side of that business, especially towards women. I mean, the business has moved so far forward with regards to women, and we're still struggling, and I'm not here to, wave the female flag and the sisterhood and all that, but it's not been an easy ride, and I don't think it ever is for women within the business. It's always been, and especially rock music, blues music, that I mean, the original blues divas from way back when you start talking about Sarah Vaughan and Mahalia Jackson and Billie Holiday, they had tough lives. And then we had the British invasion that took a lot of that music and turned it into some rock with the blues and soul. And of course, that was mainly men. And I think the only trailblazers at the time was Christine McVie from Chicken
Mac.
Shack, who
Chicken
then
Shack.
went on
Yep.
and wrote the incredible I'd Rather Go Blind. And she was born in Redditch and grew up in Redditch as well. So I used to love Chicken Shack. And then, of course, she joined Fleetwood Mac. And I loved Fleetwood Mac at the time as well. Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac were just, phenomenal. And then she joined, and then there was Stevie and Ann Wilson from Heart, the Wilson Girls. But besides that, there wasn't a lot of women, that were really trying to trailblaze. It was tough. So I saw exactly why John thought, this is going to break you. And he knew the sort of person I was, So I've always rescued animals and always loved all animals. So he really thought I was going to be a vet. And he and my mom and dad really wanted me to stay at school. So I did, I stayed on at school till I was 18. But I was singing bits of opera, singing for the school, and I used to get away with a lot of stuff because we always won the competitions when I sang, so that helped, and a bit of opera and stuff. But I always knew it was in my soul, it was in my heart. So it wasn't actually till I left school at 18, and that was when John passed away, which was a few years of real darkness. It took some time to come out of that. As the light began to shine just a little bit, I thought, I really want to have a go at it. I couldn't bury it anymore. I knew that I wanted to sing. I was writing songs and things. So that's really when I started to do it, have a go at it, and went round. I was very lucky enough to have Robert Plant on the doorstep. Him and John were incredibly close, and as I am with him now. And he had a little 4-track studio in his barn, when it was the old tape to tape.
Yep.
And I rang him up and I said, I want to have a go at singing. Can I come round? So I went round with Jason, my nephew. He was about 15. And he was playing drums better than most people when he was, that age. So I went round and we made some demos, and, and the rest, it all followed from there. But there was a poignant moment where Robert gave me an album that became a seminal part of my life, really. He gave me an Ann Peebles album, and I totally, ever since, have absolutely loved Ann Peebles. And he gave me Can't Stand the Rain, and he said, have a listen to this. And I did, and from there on, I was quite intent on it being bluesy soul, because she just blew me away. So yeah, that's how it sort of happened. And then it took a lot of years of trying to get the right path, because the paths, there was a lot of mingling paths, and they were meandering all over the place, and I wasn't on the right one. So it's taken me quite a long time to get here, where I really feel now at this age completely settled and totally happy with what I'm doing.
So then you at that point you got a deal with a record label to release a record.
Yeah, well, that's it. I sent my demos off anonymously. I did a few demos more. It wasn't just that first demo. I did a few demos, and then I sent my demos off anonymously. And yes, I got a deal with Career Records. But again, it became about the name, so that's why I thought anonymously. And then I thought, well, it's always going to come out, even if I change my name. I know this is going to come out, so it's better that I deal with it. And I'm incredibly proud to be John's sister. I'm proud to be who I am. My name is Bonham, and that's that. And I just thought, well, if I'm going to do music, he set the bar, with his brilliance and the band that he was in. And I just thought, I've got to strive towards doing him proud and getting, to a level where I can do him proud, rather than just keep worrying about the name, or certainly not trading on the back of his name at all. And so it did come out. And then it was a bit of a double-edged sword when I was younger, and then people were trying to push me more into that type of music. And it all became a bit of a a mess as far as I was concerned. Although the first album did really well, it was nothing like the songs that I'd written. You know, I was more bluesy, folky West Coast, and this came out as real 80s pop rock, you know, and not for me. Excuse me. We have hay fever season here now, and I'm sneezing every other second. So yeah, it's not an album I ever listen to now, because I just, you know, go, oh no, it's not me. But it did well. But it took me a long time to then get over that and find where I really wanted to go, you know. Yeah.
So let's fast forward to the record that I got when it came out, Duchess, which is mostly written by you, all your most of your songs. That album was killer. I'll tell you. When I received that and I put on Hold On, I went, wow, listen to this.
Yeah, well, that was special, that track. Not least because of Paul Rodgers doing a duet with me on it. So it was quite special to have that happen.
But most of that album was written by you, right? Correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love writing my own songs, you know. Pete's just snuck in, look, you know. Yeah, John would like to talk to you, Pete, but not right now. Not now, Arthur.
Is he good looking and wearing a miniskirt?
He is. He's very good looking. He's got a little miniskirt on waiting for you right now.
Fantastic. I'm there.
I'm a big fan, by the way, Peter.
That's me. See there?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Of all the people to put up, it's Led Zepellin.
I was just telling her how I love the way you play. You sound like Paul Kossoff a little bit.
Oh, cheers. Well, I'll take that as a compliment. I probably spent most of my youth trying to sound like him.
Yeah, I think that is a compliment.
You do. Yeah. He was. I loved Free. All that stuff with Paul.
Oh, and me. I'll grab another chair here.
Yeah, just in case this one collapses.
Yeah. Even though I lost a few pounds, I might still break that chair.
That's all right.
So Free fan. That's cool.
Yeah, I'm a Free fan. I'm a Rory fan too. You're a Rory Gallagher fan too.
Crikey, yeah. Yeah, as a kid, I used to go to all his gigs in the late 70s and 80s. So
yeah, I got to see him once. I think 74 or 5. I got to see him once. He was great.
Yeah, he didn't like flying too much, did he? He didn't come to America too often, so that's a shame. Oh, but crikey, so you saw him right in those early days. That's quite good.
Yeah, I got to see him. I actually got to meet Robert Plant once here at the House of Blues in Cambridge, Mass. when he was here, and Paul Rodgers. Both of them played there.
Yeah. Fantastic.
So, Cambridge, Massachusetts, is that? Yeah.
Yeah. The original House of Blues in Cambridge, Massachusetts, which was a house. It was actual house they played in inside.
Wow. And was that the owned by the Isaac and all that lot? Was that the original one that they set up?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. Cracking, that's brilliant. We played 3 of them. I think we did Chicago and LA, and I've been to New Orleans.
We didn't play New Orleans.
We didn't play New Orleans. I've just been to that one.
Chicago and LA.
Chicago and LA, and the Chicago and LA ones are completely different. Chicago is like a big, tall Greek amphitheater kind of thing.
Yep.
And then the LA one was like some sort of blues shack, tin shack.
Until you went backstage and it was velvet everywhere. I just loved it.
And Indian Palace features and stuff.
But the new one in Boston used to be the Boston Tea Party where Fleetwood Mac used to play, where Peter Green used to play.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, well, he's another one of my guitar heroes. Yeah.
There you go. Another one of my favorites.
Yeah.
But the House of Blues has changed. It was just a house, one house with 3 floors, a small house. And the top floor was the performing place. The middle floor was the restaurant. And the bottom floor was acoustic act. So it was one house with all 3 in it.
Fantastic.
It was great. It was one of my favorite places to see a show because the sound was perfect.
Yeah.
The green room was in the attic. You go upstairs to the attic for the green room in that house. It was crazy.
And Mischief.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's finish. I wanted to ask more about Duchess and how that came about when you started putting that together.
Well, we'd already. Do you want me to call you back?
No, I'll go and walk it.
No, he can stay. Okay. He was part of that record.
He was, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I did the catering.
No, you play guitar on it. I know.
In between frying wings.
Yeah, don't listen to that. He was on the album, but it just so happened. I mean, at that point, we got to deal with Rhino Records in America.
Yeah.
And so this album just came around. You know, I co-produced it with a great guy. I learned an awful lot from him, from Glenn Skinner.
She learned not to put cheese into her computer bag.
Oh, Pete.
He did. He travelled down. He kept a load of cheese in his bag and forgot about it, and it melted all over his computer.
Look at this.
I sure love you.
Look at that. Look at that T-shirt. Yeah.
Cross strats.
So he, you know, I learned a lot from that, and it turned out great. You know, I was really, really pleased with it, and but we didn't have the right manager at the time. And you know what I've learned throughout all of this.
That's a bit of a down. Making the album was cool, though.
Making the album was great.
We had Jerry Shirley on drums. So, you know,
how can you beat that? How can you beat that?
But we all got together. We took over. We had quite a big house spread over one floor. So we recorded it in there, and we had, you know, one room was like the engineering room, and we had live room for the drums, and all the amps were like, one amp was in a washroom, and another amp was in a toilet.
Yeah, it was good.
And we linked all the rooms up with television screens and everything, so we could all see each other, you know. And Deborah could be in the living room with the vocal mic and stuff. And it was fantastic. And we all sort of, Deborah had basically written most of the songs, but we had maybe 50% of them. We all put our bit into that, you know, the riffs and some of the musical parts and stuff. And Jerry Shirley brought one of the songs to it that he had started writing with Steve Marriott and hadn't finished writing it. So he had got this little guitar opening intro and the line, I'm going to have a hole in my heart. So he brought that to us, and Deborah finished it, and that was pretty cool. So we ended up co-writing a song with Steve Marriott.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, I didn't mean that to sound a downer. The whole making of the album was fantastic. But given that it all worked so great, and we had Jerry Shirley, and then Paul Rodgers agreed to be on it, you know. Yeah, and it was Rhino Records, you know, Warner Brothers, and we thought at long last we're getting over to America. So, yeah, going back to your point, we really thought, well, this is it then. You know, it's not going to get better than this. All the ducks were getting in a row, and they weren't quite. And it's the thing I've learned throughout my whole career, talking about that earlier, is that you do need all those parts together to really make something break through. And there was a bit of a fractious thing between the guy who was helping us, managing us at the time, and the label, and it all went a bit pear-shaped. And we learned a lot from it. I mean, it's done well, but you know, we really thought that we would be over and touring America straight away, and everything was going to go bang.
But it didn't.
No, it didn't quite. You know, but you know, at the end of the day, I think the whole thing for us, and as you've rightly said, not rightly said, but so graciously said, you absolutely loved the album, and for me. I always do that. I always think, if you're going to make an album, I need to sit when I'm about 80 in my old folks' boogie home, you know, and I want to be able to play it, and I still want to love it, you know. I don't want to. And so all of these albums that we've made, I think we've achieved quite that with it, you know. We've achieved a lot with them, but it does. You do have to get everything together, you know. You can keep pushing, but you do need that great record label to help you, and you do need somebody to really fight your corner, you know.
Well, now that Peter's here, let me ask you, when did you meet Peter, and how did he end up in your band?
Just, I think I was temporarily insane at the time, and gone deaf and blind, and I don't know.
Yeah, and Deborah that night very patiently waited in an orderly fashion in the queue to meet me.
So you did have a queue.
I was at the queue to go home with me. Was that?
You had a queue of women. Yes, you did.
Yeah, mutual friends.
I wasn't in it though. I wasn't in that queue.
I mean, a mutual friend's wedding, and my present to them was we provided the band for the wedding party. So we had this sort of a covers rock band called Paddy Goes to Holyhead, and we played the wedding, and we had lots of guests get up. So Deborah was there, and I think Jason was there as well, and they got up and guested with us and stuff. And it just went from there after that night. That was our meeting, and then we never looked forward since.
We put a band together, didn't we, about a month later?
Yeah.
And then that's been us 24/7 for 31 years.
Yeah, wow. So they kind of really, you get in the band to sleep with the audience, and all of a sudden I'm in a band sleeping with the band. It's like,
we can arrange that you can't, you don't. We can soon make you sleep with the audience.
Yeah.
The other record that you wrote on most of your originals was Old Hyde. Tell me about that a little bit.
That again, I loved making that album. We did that with Mo Foster produced that. Mo was he played with Jeff Beck. He's one of the most incredible bass players. Was with Jeff Beck, with Phil Collins, with Gary Moore. The list goes on for Mo. It's who he hasn't played with, And he just approached us and said, I'd like to do a record with you. And he had a studio, so we thought, well, yeah, let's go do that. And that was the first time after the For You and the Moon album that I'd really sort of started to feel what sort of music I wanted to do, And yeah, Pete, you were on that one too, weren't you? Yeah. So
we had a nice bunch of guests on that one as well.
Yeah, we did.
Robbie Blunt did a bit, and Doug Boyle, and
BJ Cole.
Yeah, it sounds like we sort of robbed Robert Plant's guitarists.
And Mick Fleetwood was on it too.
Yes, that was great.
Oh,
yeah.
That was a moment when he came in the studio.
He's such a presence. He's
he's so tall as well. I've got a great picture. I've got the picture of me stood, and I've just had under his shoulders, looking up at him like, oh.
Well, it was great when we got him in to play the drums on the song. He'd heard the demo of it and everything, but he absolutely took over on the rhythm. He put his stamp on it, so we almost redid it a little bit to fit with him. He didn't just walk in and just go bish bosh. There you go.
He didn't.
So he really listened to it and went, "No, I hear it like
yeah.
this." And he did all the, and these drum grooves he was doing on it. Right, it was Fleetwood Mac, and we were just looking at each other, going, "Wow, we're." It's like we're in the studio with Fleetwood Mac. We made a song that's
This sort of has a story, because before we made this record, we had toured with Jason in the US in about 1998. Jason got his band going at the time, and we did we opened up and we did some great venues. That was like the House of Blues, a Caravan of Dreams in Fort Worth, and some really very, very cool theaters. And there was a guy that was following around from Sony, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And every night we were playing tracks off the Old Hyde. We hadn't made the Old Hyde yet, but it was written. And we made a little sort of, CD sort of some recordings of it. And every night the crowd went crazy. And we were selling these CDs like sweeties, it was just going absolutely crazy every night for these songs. At the end of the tour...
Candy, by the way.
Candy, yeah, okay. At the end of the tour, we got called into a meeting with Sony and a couple of other guys in Beverly Hills, in the Beverly Wilshire Hotel. So we thought, oh, great, they loved it. They obviously saw this going crazy. And they sat there and went, right, what we want to do with you is forget what you've done, forget what you've written. We want to do... A Lady Sings the Blues album, Billie Holiday and all of that. And of course, we just played across America playing these songs that were going down an absolute storm. And they sort of talked across me, and Pete was sort of sitting in the meeting. They were talking to him, not quite so much me, but they said, "Yeah, we can get you a Grammy, and we can get all this money." And I just got up and walked out, thinking, "No, this isn't what I want to do." And he's begging me, going, "Well, we could do it."
I tell you, the guys she's talking about are the guys that had just done the Paul Rodgers Muddy Water Blues album. So 2 years previous.
Yeah, so they knew what they were doing.
It was the label guys, Jerry Greenberg and Phil Carson. So they and Phil Carson was the manager at the time. So they really, they certainly did wonders for that. That was a great album for Paul Rodgers in '96, was it? Muddy Water Blues.
Yep.
So so that their next plan was Deborah doing the blues, and she didn't. Because she'd done the old Hyde, you said, "No, I've done my album. I want to do my album."
but that's what we were talking about earlier, and that's the link as to why I've done it now, because now I felt that I could. Back then, I didn't feel that I could bring anything to Billie Holiday or Etta James, because I didn't feel mature enough then. I hadn't gone through enough.
You kind of don't really want to be an imposter in that world.
No, I can't do that.
You want to really feel that you fit in, and you really mean it, and you're worthy of it. And I guess a few more decades, we were about ready to draw on our real life, and
that's why we've done it. This album now, really, it stems back to then, and now being ready to do it. Except we've chosen more, contemporary. And
I want to ask you about the new record, but I'm going to do that a little bit later in the interview, because I have some questions about how you picked all those songs, because they're kind of odd songs that you wouldn't hear today.
Yeah.
But tell me about this Strange Angel album.
Oh yeah, the Elmore James.
The Elmore James. Well, that was another one, wasn't it, that actually led us to where we are now?
Yeah, that kind of influenced the idea of this album in a way, because Marco Giovino was producing it, and Marco played drums with us on the Spirit album. So that's
he was in the Band of Joy with
Robert Plant. Yeah,
Robert
and he
Plant,
was also Emmylou Harris, Nora Jones, JJ Cale. So he's another one of those sort of Nashville boys. He's actually from Boston. He's moved back to Boston now, so he came up with that. He was doing that, so he thought he'd like Deborah to sing one of the songs on that production, The Strange Angels, and that got a lot of radio play and attention.
I think it shocked him, because he sent over a sort of the track, didn't have Pete on it, and it was quite sort of not quiet, but it was great, but it didn't have that complete bang that we just went, well, let's just fire this up a bit, So Pete put the guitar on it, and I just started up singing on it. We sent it to him, and he came back with a wow. He said, I didn't see it going there, So it was great, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was a kind of a strange choice not to play slide guitar on it. And it was kind of deliberate, because again, it was trying to deal with what's respectful and what's disrespectful. I thought, well, if Elmore James is, king of the slide blues and all that kind of thing, it's like, what am I going to offer to it?
You have to do yourself.
Then we started thinking, let's make it a bit different rather than trying to do the same thing. So hence why there was no slide. We'll leave that to Elmore. Elmore's done that. It doesn't need improved on. It's just here's just another take of it.
So here's my next question. The Free Spirit Tour, your band was part of that with Paul Rodgers. How did that happen? How did he decide?
Well, about 6 or 7 or 8 years before that, we had, well, I could actually take it back about 15 years. We opened up a tour for Paul in the UK. 2004. So he kind of clocked us, and he kind of we became sort of buddies after that. We'd go out to dinner the odd time and hang out a bit, and Debbie and Cynthia were into their animal rescues and stuff. So out came a lot of projects for different animal rescue ventures and stuff that we all embarked on over the years. And and Paul and I just we just always sit and talk, you know. Sometimes we wouldn't be quite as enthusiastic at all these ventures that Deborah and Cynthia were off on, but we'd be there, and we'd start, I don't know, rather than talking about animals, we'd be talking about some of the great blues artists that influenced us, or all the music, and then I'd talk about Free, tell them, you know, I used to play the Free stuff, which he kind of noticed whenever we were supporting him. So yeah, and then it just came to the point where we did a charity concert where Paul and thought, you know, I'll just use Deborah's band and we can just do a one-off show and raise money. So, and that went great, and he was very pleased.
Few, didn't we?
Yeah, well, it went so good. He did, just like we did 2 a year then, and then he said, "Oh, crikey, let's take this on tour." Yeah, because he was feeling that, you know, that the band
was fantastic. It was fantastic, though. You guys,
the band felt the swagger and the vibe of Free. Yeah. Obviously not Free, but there was a bunch of elements there that could make the listener or the audience could immerse themselves in. No, we ain't going to get to see Free, so
you did. You nailed it. You definitely nailed it, and it was fantastic.
We captured the vibe, and he thought we captured the spirit, which is why he called it Free Spirit. So I think that's where the name came, Free Spirit, because we captured the spirit of Free.
And Deborah, you were on that tour, right?
Yeah, I opened up the show with Doug Boyle, who had played with Robert Plant, and he fantastic. I mean, we just did it as a acoustic and voice. And actual fact, at the Albert Hall, it was fantastic because it just rang out. You know, it was really, really cool, and it was great. Taking all these old songs from the Old Hyde, from Duchess, we did Blue, we did Hold On, that you talked about. So, and some of off the Spirit album as well, and it was just excellent. It was so good. We finished at the Albert Hall, and that's where it was recorded by Quarto Valley Records. So that's how it segues into us meeting with Quarto Valley Records. And then Paul loved it so much, he said, let's take this to America. So they brought out, it was recorded by Quarto Valley Records at the Albert Hall. It went to number 1 or something.
It went to number 2 in the Billboard video charts.
Yeah.
Because they did it. Yeah, they did a vinyl Blu-ray, a lovely package Blu-ray vinyl.
It DVD. Was absolutely brilliant. And that's how we met Quarto Valley. So then Paul said, let's go do this across America. So we did, with Ann Wilson and Jeff Beck. And Quarto Valley came and saw us in California, and then they came again down to Nashville. And that's when, you know, they started talking and saying, well, we'd like to do an album with you, and here we are. They've been fantastic because they let us do the album that we wanted to do. They didn't get involved in telling us anything about what we had to record or how they wanted it. Bruce Quarto at the label just said, just make sure it's good. It's like, okay, I'll try.
You mentioned Ann Wilson earlier in this interview.
Yeah.
Tell me about her when you got to meet her. Another woman, a great woman singer, rock singer, actually.
I was a bit of a bozo. I could hardly talk to her. I was so in awe, you know. I went a bit sort of, I mean, you know, I've been listening to this woman since the 70s, Dreamboat Annie and Little Queen, you know. And I just always loved her. I mean, she's a big inspiration. So when I got to meet her, it was an incredible moment. But the part was that
Deborah went very shy and couldn't speak to her.
I did. I was so shy. But she would sit at the side of the stage because she'd go on after me, but she made sure she was sat there and she'd watched nearly all of the show most nights. And then I'd come off and I just could see her in my peripheral vision, you know, and thinking, oh gosh, you know, Ann Wilson's sitting over there. So I better make this, I better mean it, you know. But she was great. Absolutely wonderful, wonderful woman.
She was a big fan of your brother's music, I'll tell you.
Yeah, no, I know. We got talking, and but she's a very generous, beautiful, beautiful woman, and still got those pipes, still singing incredibly.
Yeah, She killed it at the Kennedy Center Honors to Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, absolutely. That brought tears to my eyes. It was just
I think that's probably the one and only
Led
Led Zeppelin
cover.
that's ever been emotionally meant and
that was
genuine.
massive.
That was powerful. That was.
Yeah.
Robert was crying watching her sing that.
Moved. I think they all. I think it'd be hard pushed not to. I mean, it was spectacular.
Yeah.
You know, just totally with Jason on the drums and then the choir coming out. You know, the gospel choir in the bowler hats was inspired. I think that Jason orchestrated that one, and it was brilliant. But she sang it great, and the guitarist handled it. The whole band were just phenomenal. Yeah.
The guitarist was no slouch.
So let's talk about the new record. I got a real good question. Most of your records are in your name, Deborah. Now you've added another name to the
Bullock.
So it's Bonham Bullock now.
Yeah.
What made you decide to bring?
He tortured me for like the last year, and I just couldn't take it anymore. So I went, okay.
Well, what happened was we were selling records so fast, we thought we better slow down the pace a bit. So, they just couldn't press the records fast enough. So I know if we stick my name after it, that'll slow the sales down a bit so that the factories can cope.
Yeah,
and there you have it. Yeah.
Well, that must be it. Absolutely.
There's a killer picture of you guys, the two of you on all the promotional stuff. That's a great pictures of both of you.
Yeah.
For that record.
Well, those were from on the last tour that we did.
Yeah, they were from the Stars Align tour.
Yeah.
The one at Deborah was Kimberly Adamus, who's Denny Fongheiser's girlfriend or wife. Are they married then?
Yeah.
And
they were married then.
Were they? Oh, right. And he was drumming with Ann Wilson and Hart. So,
yeah, she's an incredible photographer.
As an artist as well.
Yeah,
they were fantastic. There was a great camaraderie on that tour.
Yeah, it was. It was
the Stars Align tour. Everybody kind of hung out with each other, even down to the road crew. You know, you had 3 different sets of road crew: Jeff Beck's, our road crew, Free Spirit, and Ann Wilson's Hart road crew. And of course, they had to do all these quick changeovers. And it was amazing just watching everybody laugh and help each other and join in and share.
Stayed friendly as well.
Yeah.
It's been great. But
in fact, one of the guys from the tour from Heart, the bass player Andy Stoller, he plays a track on our new album.
Yeah.
He asked if he could do a song,
wow.
so we sent him the track and he put the bass on there. It Ain't Easy. That's Andy on bass.
And I think that's really why I'd wanted it to be Pete. I wanted it to be a band. It's always been a band. It just got stuck with Deborah Bonham because that was me before we started together. And I'd had an album out, so we sort of stuck with that name. And that original album did well, so stuck with the name. But I was never just a girl singer out there on my own. This band just. They've
been with you all these years.
Yeah, and we know each other incredibly, and it's such an amazing band. It's an honor to be on stage and play with them, And when Paul chose them and they got pushed up there, I just thought, well, now it makes sense for me to be able to say, well, come on, let's make this Bonham Bullock and take it forward like that. And to start off with, everybody, especially him, he was like, well, why would you even want to change it now, at this point? And that's because I think we should. And because we're not going to do an album that's all my songs, we're going to pick other people's songs, which brings us all to the table in the same, we all come at the same pace, because when I write them, I know exactly where they're going to go and what's going to happen. And the guys then have to try and get in. On this one, these were other people's songs that I had to find a way to get in. So we were all it was a level playing field, until I produced, of course, and then I had to sort of beat them about a bit.
Well, the name recognition's over with. You've already been through that. So adding his name just makes sense because he's been part of this whole journey.
Absolutely. And it, it's a band, and live, that's where we really excel. It's a fantastic, phenomenal live band.
Now, the songs on the new record. I was amazed when I read that you had gone back 70 years and picked songs over 70 years. How did you pick those songs?
They were just, friends. There was 3 people that were integral to it, 4 really, including myself, but there was definitely 3. One was a guy from New Jersey who was helping us in the early stages of this, Gary Nesbitt. And he's like a walking jukebox. He's very, very cool. He managed Terry Reid and, very into world music as well. Very cool guy. So he sent me loads of songs. Then there was another.
Did he manage Jimmy Reid at one point as well?
He might have done. He sent me loads of songs. And then there was another friend of mine that subsequently became a friend of Pete's, which is a guy called Roy Williams, who sadly passed away at the beginning of the lockdown from cancer. But he was a sound engineer for all of Robert Plant's solo career. So I've known Roy all my life. He's a Midlands guy, and I've known him a long, long time. And he's another one, knows music and knows how I sing and knew the band. So he sent me loads of CDs. And then Robert, he was another one. He sent me about 5 songs and said, have a listen to these, 2 of which I've done. So those coupled with my choices, I had about 100 songs, but it wasn't difficult to whittle it down, because I just know what our band is and what it's about and what they'll bring and what songs are going to suit, So it wasn't that difficult to whittle them down. I got it to 13, thinking, well, we'll probably do about 11, and all 13 turned out, didn't they?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So it was sort of like a little, it was about 100 songs, wasn't there? Oh, you wouldn't know because I never played any to you.
I was in the
So the record came out on April 29th. People can get it now.
Yeah.
Bonham Bullock. Let's talk a couple more things outside of the record. I want to ask you about the statue of your brother that you.
Yeah.
Tell me about that a little bit and where it is and where people can see it.
It's in Redditch, Worcestershire, where we grew up, where we were talking earlier. And
the people involved in making that were, again, a similar team to this album. It was Roy Williams, who we just spoke of, with the encyclopedic knowledge of music, and suggested all those songs. And Robert Plant, Deborah, and myself, along with the sculptor, Mark Richards. So it was a formidable team on the sculpture, which then went on to the album.
Mark was quite incredible sculptor.
That's the sculptor, yeah.
It took me a while to find him, but when we did, I just knew as soon as I met him and saw his work, I thought, yeah, because we didn't just want to have John standing there holding a pair of sticks or something, that wasn't John. And it all started because there were some fans in Redditch really felt that John needed to be recognized and wanted to build a statue. And I just, I thought, okay.
They were taking too long about it, so we all tried to.
They asked us to get involved.
It was getting a bit like, oh, God. So
we did, and we raised the money. And we raised so much money because... we needed X amount to make the statue, but we doubled the money. So we were able to tie that in with Teenage Cancer Trust, which was just great, because during this whole process, when we started, I woke up in the night thinking, I'm not sure John would just want all this money being spent on like this sort of bronze effigy of him. He wasn't that type of guy. He really wasn't. He loved his music and he was proud of what he did, but he wasn't very glitzy or, so I thought he won't like it. Maybe we should just forget the memorial and just help build a hospital or something for kids. I don't know. And I woke up the next morning thinking, I've got to call Robert about this. And before I managed to call him, Robert rang me and said, listen, I've been thinking about this. I'm not sure your brother would just want that to happen. I went, oh my goodness, that's exactly what I was thinking. And that's when he suggested, how about tying it in with Teenage Cancer Trust? Because he knew, he'd worked with them, and he knew them through Roger Daltrey, who's the big patron. And it was crazy how that connected, because Pete and I have known Angie Jenkinson that runs, she works for Roger Daltrey and runs the music side of Teenage Cancer Trust. We've known her for donkey's years. So it made a perfect thing, you know, and it was just so great. We went to the hospital in Birmingham, Pete, Roy, myself and Robert, and saw the kids, and as much as it was harrowing, it was inspirational. And Robert was amazing, wasn't he? You guys were teaching some young kid how to play in Dadgad, was it?
Oh yeah. We were. It was a kid who played guitar. He the chemotherapy had made his fingers numb, so he was a bit upset he couldn't play. And they had a music room in the Teenage Cancer Trust ward, and Robert came up with the idea. He says, "Oh, this is my mate Pete. He plays guitar. He can show you how to do open tuning and play with a slide." And I just looked at him going, "Eh?" I was too busy caught in the in the moment, the gravity of the moment, really.
Yeah,
and, Robert Plant was just straight in there, making a positive out of it, and getting it. Before you know it, I'd detuned the guitar into a special tuning and playing with a bottleneck, and the kid was like, "Oh man, this is brilliant," you know. So all of a sudden, although he had lost the feeling in his hands through the chemotherapy, he was able to make tunes out of the guitars in the music room. So it was, and entertain the other kids and everything. And that was
it's brilliant.
And although it was me that did it, I just felt that Robert Plant had used me as a conduit to to make this happen for the kids. So it was fantastic. Powerful man.
John would have so loved that. So it just worked. And then the memorial was made. As I say, Mark Richards, it was breathtaking. We picked a photograph, a famous photograph of John full in action. Got the timpani there, and he's playing the timpani and part of the kit by James Fortune. It's a very, very cool shot. James donated the photograph, and Mark set about it, and it was just so
I got to do a bit of artwork on that, because the photograph only went round to sort of halfway through the first suspended tom. So the sculptor, not being a drummer or not noted, I had to sort of draw in the rest of the drum kit so that the sculptor had an idea of what the drum kit would have been out of the shot, the photograph. So that's why the photograph, if you ever see the famous photograph, it's only that over to the right-hand side. The rest of it we hand drew to.
I thought you were going to actually talk about the fact. I'm going to get there. Crikey, well.
And then we thought, there's not enough Northern Ireland in this statue, you know. Now that I've drawn that.
Do you know, nobody thought that. That was you.
Yeah, you're from Northern Ireland, Belfast, right?
Yeah. So the statue, they're going, well, how is it going to go from the ground to the statue of John? What's going to be in between? How are we going to? And we wanted it to be interactive, you know, so that people could sit with the statue as well. You know, they'll be wanting photographs taken and stuff, and just to be on the same level and interact with the statue, with the artwork. And of course, the north coast of Ireland, there's this volcanic rock formation called the Giant's Causeway, and it's where all these sort of hexagonal tubular rock formations come out of the sea, and it looks amazing. But Led Zepellin actually used that for the front cover of Houses of the Holy. So when you see those kids crawling up that rock formation, that's the north coast of Ireland. It's called the Giant's Causeway. So we built the Giant's Causeway, and John's statue comes out of the Giant's Causeway.
Wow.
This looks absolutely spectacular. And it's still there now. We did it 4 years ago on the 31st of May, so a couple of days ago, on John's 70th birthday. And in true Led Zeppelin style, we did it at midnight, so that nobody knew. There was just us and Robert and a couple of close friends. And it came in on a big truck, and they put it down, and
big crane lifted it off in
the center of the town by the bandstand where John played as a young boy, as a kid. and it's there. It's looked after by the fans in Redditch, and they've been taking incredible care of it, you know. And yeah, it's incredible. And it has a beautiful little interactive plaque on the back talking about Teenage Cancer Trust, and a beautiful inscription about John that Robert wrote. And yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. And he just said, let's keep it, let's not have a big fanfare about this. Let's do it so that, you know, on the morning of the John's birthday, people walk into the town and there it is. And they don't know how this has appeared. And it had great big, we made these big signs saying happy birthday, John, and tied balloons and everything. Did it at midnight. We were there till about 4 a.m. Yeah. And the next day, the atmosphere down in Redditch, because nobody knew it was going to happen. And then all of a sudden, all of these people were piling in, you know, and seeing it. And it was just fantastic. And we were able to do then a T-shirt of it and sell that for Teenage Cancer Trust. And it still keeps giving now.
It's lovely. The afternoon after it was installed, we sat there, I don't know, about 50 yards away, didn't we? There was a bit of a market going on in cafes and stuff. And we sat there just watching the interaction.
It was wonderful.
And there was just lines of people just walking up, standing, and then just gathering their thoughts for 10 minutes. And I spoke to a few of them, and it was amazing the amount of people that you'd meet that says, oh, I remember John, I went to school with him, or he was a year younger than me, or I remember we had a shop in the really 60s good. And John used to come into it.
And it's still happening.
It triggered all these memories. Just all these people standing around that didn't know each other were just talking to each other how they were either fans or they knew him. He was in a shop that they ran, or went to school. It was an incredible, if you were doing some sort of social experiment of bringing people together, that was it. It was marvelous to watch.
It's been fantastic, and it's raised an awful lot of money for the kids with teenagers with cancer, and it still is. On his birthday a couple of days ago, people were emailing us or Facebooking us saying, I've just given money for John's birthday, you know, for the Teenage Cancer Trust. So it's continuing. The memorial just keeps raising money, and because of the plaque on the back, people read it and then they make a donation, no matter how small, and it just keeps going. So it's fantastic. He would have loved that. He would have so loved it.
So Robert was right to do that.
Pardon?
Robert was right when he said to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You know, it was just, I mean, the pair of us just knew that John would have wanted something like that, you know, more philanthropic.
He is quite often right, Robert Plant.
Oh, you're just trying to get a job now. Clear on. He's not telling you know. I'm telling you now. He's not using you on guitar. So go away.
No, I was going to do the Alison Krauss bit. I'm going to harmonize with him.
So Deborah, you mentioned animal rescue and animals that you're involved. Tell me a little bit about that.
It really started with well, I've always rescued dogs.
I'll just show you this one quickly. That's buttoning their nose up to me every second.
She's one from Spain.
In case you were wondering what I've been doing with my hands.
It started, I mean, it's years ago, and it's been dogs, it's been horses. I've been very passionate about race horses, in that, you know, they get used for racing, they get injured, and then it's either the knacker's yard or, you know, it's just been trying to work with the industry to give them a life after racing, you know. So that's been a big part of me, and I've had several. I've still got one now, but I've had one point I had about 5 of them, I think, living here that couldn't get rehomed. So I'd say to Pete, can we go and get this? Can we go and pick this one up? And he'd be like, oh no, another one's come in, you know. So yeah, I've race horses, any form of horse really. We've yesterday and today we've been running around trying to rescue this poor little horse that's in a bit of trouble. So yeah, it's a daily thing, you know.
So
and dogs.
Go ahead.
Dogs and cats, everything gets rescued. We've even got a rescued donkey.
Wow. So what's the most important thing that's happened to you in your career to date?
I think it's this album. I feel that we have arrived. I feel so comfortable about this. I think this is anything we do going forward will be with a new feeling of confidence. I think, even though we've always been pretty confident, and we've been very confident on stage. Musically, I just feel that we've really nailed it on this one. So I think this is probably about the best part in our career, even though we've had some amazingly blessed moments, you know, having Robert get up with us on stage, playing with Nazareth, and Peebles singing a duet with her, you know, Can't Stand the Rain. Paul Rodgers, you know.
For me, it was getting my first amplifier. I had an electric guitar for a year without an amplifier. That was cool.
That's good.
Well, here you go. There's this shirt, Woodstock.
There you go, Woodstock.
Now, it's actually in Belfast. There's Woodstock Road and the Woodstock Music Centre, and it was owned by a guy called Joe Cohen, who was Rory Gallagher's buddy. And Rory used to come down to the shop as well, so we'd go in and sit and play a little jam and stuff in there.
And that was the best part of your career, was it?
Getting an amplifier for an electric guitar and have for yeah.
So that was before you joined this band, then?
Long time before, right?
Okay. So any guitarists out there want to join the Bonham band now?
If you're aged 11 out there with an electric guitar and no amplifier for a year, I'll tell you, the day you get your amplifier, that's the best day of your life.
So I was looking at your tour schedule. You have some European dates coming up. Are you going to be here in the fall? I see, maybe.
Yeah, we're really hoping. That's what we're trying to make work now. And we have a fantastic agent that's trying to make this happen. So, yeah, I mean, it was 2018 and 2019. We came back in 2019. We played the Cutting Room in New York. We played Daryl's house up in Pauling, and then went to Levon Helms, where he got his Woodstock T-shirt from. And it was... we played Asbury Park as well, didn't we? The Wonder Bar.
Oh yeah.
Down in New Jersey. So yeah, you know, we loved it, and then of course pandemic hit, so we had to hold on for a while. But now we're ready to do it. So yeah. I'm so hoping.
Our visas expired in COVID.
Yeah, we have to get. Well, now we have to get new visas. But yeah, Massachusetts. Yeah. We you know. We had such a great time because my grandparents were married in just outside Boston in a place called Lynn.
Yeah, Lynn, Mass.
Yeah, that's it. So my grandparents got married there, and I just really want to go. You know, I want to go and see the little house they had there. So can't wait.
A few days off in Boston when we did the Stars Align.
We didn't get to Lynn though, did we?
No. But we got to most of the bars around the.
Well, Lynn's not far from Boston. It's not that far.
No, I'm definitely going to do it next time.
In fact, we had that lovely moment in a deli shop just opposite round. I don't know if you remember where the gig was for the Stars Align tour. I can't remember the name of it. The show in Boston. It was
by that waterfront thing.
It was sort of by the waterfront.
It was incredible.
Yeah. And there was a lot of shops outside, just around the corner from our hotel. And we'd go into the hotel to get some stuff for lunch. It was like those American deli shops, you know, so all sorts of groceries and stuff. And I think there must have been a football game on or something. All the guys were coming in with their big ice boxes, you know,
Is this Mario?
Bags of ice. Yeah. And you might know the shop. He's like... They come in and they're going, have you got bags of ice? You know, to chill their beer. So can you get bags of ice? And the girl behind the counter, she shouts to the owner. She goes, "Hey, Mario, where'd we keep the ice?" And Mario shouts back, "I've got to do this without swearing." Mario shouts back, "I don't know. Try the oven."
That was it. Everybody spat their beer out. Try the oven.
Where do we keep the ice, Mario? I don't know. Try the oven. I thought, well, Boston is more sarcastic than us.
How far is Lowell from Boston?
20 miles, 26 miles.
So it's not too far.
It's not too far.
26 miles. It's a marathon.
Yeah. You got it. It's a marathon.
Yeah.
So, Deborah, you were talking about writing you write your own songs. Now this album is all mostly covers, if not all.
Yeah, no, they all are.
Are you working on more of your own music to come out down the
Yeah,
road?
I mean, I'm one of these that whilst I'm in the throes of one album, that's why I couldn't even possibly conceive doing that Lady Sings the Blues, because I was absolutely, obsessed with the old Hyde and consumed with it. So I've sort of just been so consumed with this album that it's only just now that I've started writing more stuff again. So, I've been writing.
Hey, when I popped in, I was on my way out to walk the dogs. I better. Can I say farewell and I'll take these dogs out for their walk before their dinner. They're pestering.
All right.
So was the dogs
Nice to meet you, Peter.
And you. Great talking to you. And sharing T-shirts. And what colours are the straps on your T-shirt?
I saw blue
and red.
Blue and red. Okay, so we got Hank Marvin on the red one, and who's the blue one? Do you think?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm not sure who has a blue one.
I don't think who played.
You want a T-shirt? I can send you one.
I'd love one.
All
Absolutely.
Right. We'll have to set something. I'll send you one, Deborah, too, if you want.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I'd love that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of somebody other than Mark.
Think about it while you're walking. Think about it while you're walking the dogs.
I know blue. I'm sure Buddy Guy has a blue one.
He does.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll work.
That's the
that'll
killer.
work. Buddy Guy will work.
There you go. That's the answer from now on.
That's Buddy Guy who said there ain't no such thing as blues. It's a big old gumbo.
Oh, you did? Yeah. There's blues is one big gumbo of everything thrown in.
Yeah.
There you go.
Brilliant.
That's what we're doing.
Off you go.
So, Deborah, couple more questions, and then I'll let you get back.
Yeah.
First, this question is, where do you see yourself in the next 3 to 5 years?
Doing more the same. Hopefully tour in America. We'd like to go and tour Australia and New Zealand and Japan and Canada as well. We are touring in Europe. I think the next 3 to 5 years are really important because we're at that age now where, time always matters, but now time's, running, and it's. So I want to get in as much as we can do, and as long as I'm with this band, that's what I'm happy about. I don't want things to change. I totally love this band. I love them.
And you can sing anything. I'm finding out when I listen through all the records you've done, it doesn't matter. You can sing any kind of music. That's the beauty of your voice.
Well, thank you. Thank you. This one is particularly more rooted in the blues, which is what I am anyway. But I do like, my own songs. I don't tend to write them like that because I didn't live that life then. So my songs are very much about what I know and how I feel. But with each one of these songs on the new album, I was able to relate to the lyrics. So it worked really well, But whether it'll be more, whether it'll be the next album will be, because we'll definitely continue making albums. And I think whether the next one will be more of the same, another album of other people's songs where we do our interpretation. I think I'd like to do an album of my songs, our songs really, because we all, all the songs are credited as a band because I take it to them and they put their thing on, and without them putting their thing into it, and we're all such close friends. It's the way to do it. So that's it might be all our songs. We'll see. We'll see. At the moment, we're having such a ball at long last getting out and touring, and the shows have been sold out, and we're just playing the new stuff. We play a bit of stuff off Duchess, and we play some off the old Hyde and some off the Spirit album, and we're playing quite a few of the new songs. and we're really enjoying that. I mean, that's been great playing those live because it's new and it's stretched us, and we're all, we're fired up. So it's great. Yeah.
You ever think of going back to the first couple records and reinventing some of those songs for yourself?
I sort of have, but I think, every time I think about that, I think, no, that was then, there's always something new. I don't mind looking back. I mean, there's some songs that have never made albums, not because I don't think that they're great songs. It's just that it's never quite worked, So I might dig up some of those. I don't think I'm ever going to rework, the first album.
You have
No.
you've done some Led Zeppelin songs though over time.
I've never recorded any. Only the Battle of Evermore, which was
Right.
That was Jason, and I didn't know I was going to sing it, and I certainly didn't know he could sing. And when he said, and that was live on Bob Coburn's show in Los Angeles. It was a big radio show. Its name has escaped me. Pete would remember, but Jason said, I'm going to do this live interview and a live session. Why don't you come? Because I was in LA at the time. Why don't you come? You come, Pete, and sing the Battle of Evermore. And I thought, okay, but I don't know it, and it's a lot of lyrics. Well, of course I knew it, but I'd never sung it. So I went to this studio and arrived there thinking I'm going to sing it with Jason's singer, and I thought, strange choice for Jace because there's no drums on it, So I'm just going to do it with his band. Oh no, he was going to sing it. And I thought, and we had no rehearsal. And I thought, okay.
It came out great, by the way.
It did. I mean, do you know what? I think we've been listening to the song for so long that he naturally did Robert's part. I naturally did Sandy Denny, and then the harmonies just naturally happened. I mean, he's got a great ear, Jason, John was a great singer too. I mean, John loved melody and harmonizing. So, yeah. So that's the only one that I've ever recorded. I've occasionally done, rock and roll maybe at the end of a show. If the audience have really been with us, it's something I have to judge on the night because sometimes I wouldn't just throw it in so that we get the audience. They've got to go through all
they got to earn it, right?
Yeah, we have to go through for 2 hours, and then if they're really there and they've loved it, and we're on our third encore, which is what happened the other night, we did rock and roll, and we also did the Hunter, Paul Rodgers and Free. We did that, and it was just brilliant because then you feel like, yeah, okay, it's been a great night, So other than that, I haven't really. I got up with Robert at a private party, and we sang a couple of Led Zeppelin songs together. That was nerve-wracking, but fantastic. But that's about it. I tend to steer away from Zeppelin. Really, I just love listening to them do it.
So how do people find out about you?
Well, we're on. We have a webpage, which is deborahbonham.com, Facebook, Deborah Bonham, and Twitter and Instagram. It's all Deborah Bonham, but it links with Bonham Bullock and Quarter Valley Records. And the album is available on all the platforms, Amazon and HMV and all of that. So it's available everywhere.
I'm going to play the whole album right after this interview.
Wow!
How's that?
Wow, I'm blown away. That's fantastic. Thank you.
And that's a way for the listeners to be able to hear your whole record before you come here.
Well, that's absolutely amazing. And the way I produced it, actually, I'm ready for it to become a vinyl record because I wanted it to have that feel of the 70s vinyl, with a few modern bits on it. But yeah, so yeah, that's brilliant. Fancy playing the whole album. That's incredible. Thank you.
And what I'll do is I'll get you T-shirts. I'll do it through John Lapham.
Brilliant.
Yeah, your publicist here in the States.
We'll send you a Bonham Bullock T-shirt then.
All right.
Exchange.
And I'll have him. We'll exchange emails, and I'll get your sizes and everything, and then I'll send them out.
Fantastic.
All
Thank
right.
you so much, John.
And if you ever come to Mass,
we're coming.
Yeah, we'll have to connect. We'll have to get together and connect. I'll come see you at the show that you're playing, or
yeah, we're coming. We will let you know. Absolutely.
Very good. Well, thank you very much again for spending some time with me.
I've had an absolute ball. It's been brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.